This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
Want to know just how deep the delusion went? Let's talk about the alibi. According to Bryan Kohberger, a man who is facing capital murder charges for one of the most chilling crimes in recent memory, trying to say he wasn't near the crime scene? Yeah. He wasn't plotting, stalking, or doing anything sinister. No, none of that. He was stargazing. That's right. Just out there at 4 a.m., peacefully admiring Orion's belt, while half of the Pacific Northwest slept. Because what else would a guy with a background in criminology and a glove box full of silence be doing in the dead of night with his phone off? Now, here's the thing. His defense team didn't invent that gem. They had to run with it. That was his story. And when you're a defense attorney holding a pair of twos while the prosecution sits on a full house, you play what you're dealt. In this segment, we're back with criminal defense attorney and Defense Diaries host Bob Motta, and we're getting blunt about the fallout from Kohberger's now infamous alibi, the forensic evidence that boxed him in, and just how close we came to this actually going to trial. Bob walks us through the absurdity of the stargazing defense, what kind of burden it places on a defense team, and how Kohberger's own arrogance may have helped drive this case to its resolution. We also explore the legal truth about the sheath, that now notorious piece of evidence carrying Kohberger's single-source DNA found under the bodies of two victims. If that was the only piece of evidence they had, maybe you could argue doubt. But with GPS data, Amazon purchases, vehicle tracking, and the killer's own bizarre attempts at innocence, that single sheath becomes the cornerstone of an airtight case. And maybe most importantly, Bob tackles something that doesn't get talked about enough. The moment a defense attorney switches gears from prove he didn't do it to save his life. Ann Taylor made that pivot. As much criticism as she took online, the reality, she did exactly what she was supposed to do. So how do you close the book on a client who's likely guilty, legally boxed in, and running out of time? Bob walks us into the moment where that strategy flips from defense to damage control. Let's jump in. They really had absolutely nothing. So when Ann Taylor had to come forward and say, the alibi is he likes to stargaze, I'm assuming that probably literally came out of Kohberger's mouth, and she had to go with it because there was nothing else to go with. And in his mind, He probably thought, yeah, this will work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost a shittier alibi than I was home asleep alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's no way to prove it. Oh, well, look, my phone was here. I mean, actually it's worse because in this day and age, like if you connected to your Wi-Fi or if you watched something streaming, I imagine that during the times that they're claiming that you were there and you can say, all right, well, and you're known to live alone. So there's no one else to corroborate your story, but you say, oh, well, I streamed a movie at 3:30 in the morning, or I started streaming a movie at exactly 4:15 a.m. And this is what it was. And you go to Netflix and you get all of their data from his account, and they're like, yeah, this dude started. At least you got something that can kind of corroborate what you did. When you're out fucking stargazing, you ain't got shit, bro.
No.
Like you've got nothing. So and again,
he should have just left the phone at home. If he had left his phone at home, quite honestly, probably could have gotten away with this. And that's
from
horrible.
The fact that he left a sheath. With
I know,
DNA.
but yes, aside from that, but that would just be that because you wouldn't have all the pinging. All of that pinging would be gone. And that was a big piece of this. That put him there. The sheath, you get the car, maybe. I don't know.
Is bad.
It's another big piece, though.
What is the argument from and I always think like a defense attorney, I'm like, okay, so say we don't have the pinging, okay, and we'll pretend that the kind of the blurry video of the car that appears to be very similar to the car that he drives.
Yeah.
Is there, but
there's plenty now. I mean, I think we can say that the video, because there's more than just the earlier one we saw where you can identify it as the Elantra clearly.
Yeah, there's a lot of video out there, but say that he was smart enough to not use his own car and he left his phone home. So we don't have the pinging and we don't have the car videos, and we're left with a sheath with just a single contributor DNA on it. And let's even pretend that we don't have the Amazon purchases with the gift card. Let's pretend all that doesn't exist. All we have is that sheath. Tony, I challenge you to come up with an explanation of how it got there. And if you're going to say, okay, well, the cops planted it, but
no,
why pick that guy? What would possess them to pick? If you don't have any of that other shit, how are they going and picking some dude going to Washington State University that's getting his PhD in criminal justice? How does it get there?
Yeah. No,
I could not come up with a reasonable explanation.
If you don't have the Amazon history, if you didn't have that, you could if you didn't have any proof of purchase, or that he had it in his possession, one could argue, well, maybe, he had or lost resale. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could say somebody got it on there, but there's all the other pieces that point to say it was his because he bought it. It was there. I mean, if you took those other elements away, you could introduce more doubt, or more possibilities, because you wouldn't know the origin of it. You wouldn't know the origin of it then.
Introduce some doubt to me. I love reasonable doubt. Yeah. That's where I live, man.
Well, you wouldn't know if you have no idea where this thing came from and there's no purchase history, then then you don't know where it came from initially. You don't. It's not in his possession.
His DNA's still on it, and they figure out that it's him. All right, so
people sell knives all the time and sheaths and all that stuff, like in a pawn shop.
DNA? Where's their DNA? And how did it get under the girls?
Well, it's theoretical as if we take all this evidence out, though. So, if all you have is the DNA on the sheath and nothing else exists in this scenario.
The DNA on the sheath.
Everything else is gone.
Single contributor.
He went to a pawn shop and checked it out and opened the sheath.
Okay.
And then somebody bought the knife, and then his DNA was on the sheath.
He's suspect. And then we go to the pawnbroker. He's a suspect. And then we go to the pawnbroker's paperwork to see whoever pawned the knife. So we've got 3 suspects at that point, but we still only have one's DNA.
Well, we don't know where the sheath is from. I'm just saying he could say that he. It's true, because then you'd have to say where he went to snap a knife.
Right. I mean, dude, he had to get it somewhere. So we're gonna sniff his story out.
He was walking down the road and found a sheath one day and picked it up, snapped it, and just threw it back down. I don't know where it's from. I didn't want it. I just left it.
Yeah, then he's an unlucky motherfucker.
He is. He would be. He'd be very unlucky at that.
Indeed.
But that scenario is not what we have. So, but obviously having more pieces to this puzzle certainly helped get us to this point. If it was just the 100%. One, we would have likely been in a trial, I think, because there wouldn't have been all these other pieces that are pointing at him. And the less you have, the more chances of reasonable doubt. I mean, look at Rick Allen. There's nothing there.
Right. And they still convicted him. It's like, I mean, you're right. If none of this other shit existed, if that's the only thing, it's transfer DNA. That's where you're going to get your big transfer DNA argument that, it doesn't mean shit. That could have been, we have no idea when that DNA was placed on that knife. It could have been, 5 owners ago. And now you're trying to pin it on this poor guy. Yeah. I mean, without anything else,
it'd be very hard.
You go to trial on it. So, but fortunately, there was a lot more.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
and that was the linchpin.
Yeah. Without, the other pieces are what put it all together, and that's how we got where we are. What do you think was going through Anne's mind today in court as she's sitting there next to him? I noticed she was a little bit further away than she used to be. It seemed in some of those chairs in that courtroom.
I can tell you definitively what's going through her mind today is that I saved my client's life.
Yeah,
when you're handling a death penalty case, you're and you at some point, once you've gone through all the discovery and you come to the realization on your own, in spite of what your client has told you, that this person more likely than not, beyond a reasonable doubt, has committed this crime, and you kind of come to grips with that, your mode then becomes, all right, well, the government's trying to execute my client. Um, my job is to save his life. And that was what her job became. And I mean, like, the one thing that I'd love to ask her is why she came out and said that he was factually innocent early on. And we were talking about this the last time with the
Yeah.
plea deal. And I can't remember when that was. Like, I cannot remember where in the process that was. If it was really early,
Where she said
if it was
factually
kind of,
innocent?
yeah,
Right
when she
away.
made that
It was
statement.
right away. It was right
All
out
right,
of the
so
gate.
that's
Yeah.
that's before. So, like, to me, it's a reckless statement. It's frankly, it's unethical for defense attorneys to say that in general and
Mhm.
in most jurisdictions, because it's just, you're supposed to say my client's presumed innocent, and
Mhm.
that's where we have every intention on showing that at trial, that this guy didn't do it. But to come out and say it's factually innocent before she had seen the
Anything. Yeah.
discovery, it was not a great move, and that it's one of those moves that kind of like that move by her really has been fuel to the Kohberger supporters
Yeah.
fire. I mean,
Yeah.
like, when the lawyer's sitting there saying that, and people will give that weight. That's why you have to be very, very careful about saying shit like that, because had she not said that in those words, that my client's factually innocent, that got people to say, okay, well, the woman who's representing him believes him,
Mhm.
and she's seen the evidence. Now, if it's true that that happened prior to her seeing the evidence, then she should never have said that, because she hadn't seen the evidence yet, and it was a little bit reckless,
Yeah.
and it caused. I mean, Tony's still in my chat today. And like, people, like, I have people that are just adamant that this guy didn't do this, and that he's, for some godforsaken reason, pled guilty to 4 things that he didn't do, and namely those homicides. And I'm like,
Yeah. I think some people, the real world is just too scary. and it's easier to go and conspiracize, that's a new word.
I like that.
Conspiracize things to blunt the impact of that this guy could be this. But the reality is, well, if he's not the monster, somebody else is. So how is that really fixing anything in one's mind,
Exactly.
But I guess it makes it more unknown. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
there's
I'm happy to close the chapter on this book, and I just hope that the families can find some form of solace from the fact that this is now over, and they don't have to continue to think about this on the daily basis in terms of the process anymore. They could just focus on their loved ones that are lost, and they can try to kind of move on through life and do whatever they're going to end up doing. And it's like, I was talking about it on my channel. It's like, a lot of times families like this that suffer this kind of loss, they get heavily into advocacy,
Yeah.
and it becomes like a real motivating factor. I would not be shocked at all
Mhm.
to see that Alivea becomes a very vocal advocate,
Mhm.
victims advocate out there. I could see her doing that. I could see
Mhm.
her, I don't know what she's doing now for a living, but I could see her going to law school. It's like these kind of tragedies oftentimes push people a different way than they ever would have expected to go in life. And we'll see how it goes, but I just hope that those families get some peace and a little bit of healing, and I hope that this helps move that along.
So that's where we land, not in conspiracy, not in courtroom theatrics, not in the swirling storm of what ifs. We land in the unglamorous but necessary place called legal reality. Kohberger wasn't framed. He wasn't misunderstood. He wasn't wandering the woods, whispering to the stars. He was caught, thoroughly, completely, and with receipts. And in the end, his own defense team knew it. Bob Motta pulled back the curtain here on something the internet doesn't like to hear. Sometimes there's no magic trick. Sometimes the defense is just trying to minimize damage, not prove innocence. Ann Taylor didn't walk into that courtroom thinking she had a secret ace up her sleeve. She walked in knowing her client left his DNA on a knife sheath, pinged his phone all over the crime scene, bought suspicious items like a gift card, and tried to explain it away with a bedtime story about stargazing because, oh yeah, that gift card bought the murder weapon. And while we're here, let's talk about what defense attorneys actually do. They don't have to believe their clients. They don't have to they have to represent them. But it's a hard truth for people to sit with. But it's the backbone of the justice system. Even the worst human beings are entitled to a legal defense. Even the monsters get counsel. That's how we protect the innocent. That's also how we make sure and make damn sure the guilty get nailed cleanly without question, and that the innocent walk free. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Bob also reminded us that statements made early in the case, like calling someone factually innocent, can echo far longer than intended. Ann Taylor's early declaration gave Kohberger truthers just enough rope to build a fantasy. And even now, after the guilty plea, people are still clinging to that soundbite like it means something. It doesn't. It never did. What it means now is closure. Not for everyone, maybe not even for Steve Goncalves, certainly, or any of the family, or anyone who loved these people. Closure does not exist. But for the legal process, it's done. The needle won't move again unless someone pulls off a miracle delusion, and frankly, that ship has sailed. As Bob said, Kohberger is where he belongs. The family finally gets a tiny crack of peace. And maybe, just maybe, Alivea Goncalves and others like her will turn their pain into something powerful. Maybe they already have. We're done chasing shadows in this case. The stargazer has landed, and no one's looking up. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section on YouTube. If you're not already there, please check us out on YouTube. Just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Vice versa, if you want to take us on the go, search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, wherever you get podcasts. And you can listen to our show anywhere you want. And watch us on YouTube. And comment on YouTube as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where this case has now officially landed. Until next time, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.